being sick did not stop me from going to the library. I went to the library for the first time in a very long time. Now, that is actually for research for my next video. I don't want to spoil too much because I like things to be surprises, but the next video has a lot to do. There's a pretty strong connection between the thing that I'm covering and a particular book, and I was trying to go all over the internet trying to find a download of it. Could not, for the life of me, find a copy legally. I found one legally, but like I don't want to pay for it. Wait, it's a business expense. Fuck, it's a business expense. Wait, I totally can pay for a copy. Oh, that's so cool. It's like when I wrote off Harvester on my taxes. The government doesn't believe me. The government does not believe that I'm a business in regards to my Patreon income. So I have to fight my local state government to prove that I am in fact a business and that I make money. I'm trying to I need to tell them how but the problem is that I don't have a 1099K from Patreon because they didn't decide to send me one. I just had to report it. I had to go through and do all the math myself. I didn't do very much math. Anyway, I was like, why don't I go? I'll go on I heard about someone using Libby. Libby is it's like a digital service for checking out books and reading books that goes through the public library system. I don't know if it's available outside of the US, but at least in the United States, it's a thing. And I thought that might be a possibility. Also, it could just be kind of fun to go to the library. So I walked on down to the library and didn't find it there. I had to get a library card. I had one. I used to have one for my local library system, but I moved houses once or twice and it just got lost and it might have expired. I don't know if they expire, but I had to get a new one. And the lady at the counter, when I went through their little digital system of putting in all my info, and she had to check my ID and stuff. And when she was about to print it out, well, not print it out, but assign, they have a whole stack of library cards that have barcodes on them, and then I guess they just digitally imprint the barcode to the digital record, which is pretty clever actually. So they scan the barcode and they're like, bup, that's linked up to this digital record of your account now. And she goes, oh, I can change your birthday so that it's not the default unless you want to keep it like that. And I was like, what? And she goes, you left your birthday as January 1st. And I had to say, no, that is my actual birthday. I got to be the cool guy who's like, yeah, I have a kind of interesting birthday. Feast day of St. Mary. I'm pulling through. So I spent 2 hours at the library not finding the book that I needed, but I kind of didn't figure that I would. I didn't have any high hopes for that, but also just kind of enjoying my time at the library. It's actually kind of believe it or not, kind of a fun place to go to just browse around and look at books. I saw a book called Werewolf Cop, which looked really funny. That's something they would watch on Best of the Worst. I ended up walking out with 2 books, one of which, okay, so I've been to a library kind of recently. Yeah, I guess I have been to a library sort of recently with a friend of mine who wanted to pick up some science books for a thing that they were doing. And I ended up checking out, because in that library they had a gaming section. And I thought, I wonder if my local library has one of those as well. And they had a gaming section, but it was mostly sports. It was gaming and sports. But there is there video game stuff? So they did have video game stuff. They always put the video game books around the same, they put them in the same area that they put the gambling and magic tricks. So I don't know what that says about that. I don't know what that says. I don't know where else you would put it. That is kind of like, honestly, with the loot boxes, and all that, makes a lot of sense. And the magic tricks are like how I make people disappear. Pow pow. On the on Dust 2. I don't even like Counter-Strike. So I got all the gaming books, all the video gaming books, I should say, are a little. I was looking through I was excited to actually find some, and then I was disappointed because I realized that I am in that state beyond where most books about video games are going to satisfy me, like that you'll find at a library. I really like interesting, like, niche history stuff. Like when I picked up that book on, Bible adventures from a bookstore a while ago. Like, that's my jam. Or like really critical academic books about video game, either like history or like as an art form or design or something like that. That is the stuff that I really like. And a lot of the books that they will supply at a library are like, what's a video game like? The Dummy's Guide to Esports, which is so funny. If you have never thumbed through the Dummy's Guide to Esports, look through it if you find it. It's great because it was written. It is very immediate to like the time it was written, and because it's like step 1, decide what game you want to play. Which is really, like, that's a very funny way to be like, I've decided that I would like to be an esports pro. What game should I play? I'm not sure yet. But they have a bunch of game recommendations, and one of them is BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle. And I was like, ooh, really? Ooh, this book was written and came out within, like, a very specific 2 to 3 year span. Was reasonable. It wasn't like it's so funny. Like the book itself is a fool's errand. Someone got commissioned to write it, I'm sure, but it's very funny. It's a lot of like surface level. I say surface level stuff, but more just like not quite the depth that I'm looking for. I remember there's one really funny book that it's like a series of interviews. It's like interviews with game designers, game developers. And the back or like the sleeve of the book mentions it's like some of the hottest names in gaming today. Jonathan Blow, Randy Pitchford, Peter Molyneux. It's like, oh, okay. Again, very particular time. Oh, that is so fun. So funny. So I actually got a book that has nothing to do with video gaming at all, which is Theory and what is it? Oh God, what is it called? Hang on, it's over here. I'm gonna grab it. The Theory and Practice of Go. The ancient game of Go, which I played a little bit of, and is a fascinating game that scares the hell out of me, because it is mechanically, it has one mechanic, maybe two if you count putting down the tiles. It has one, maybe two mechanics, but the absolute depth of Go is endless. It is absolutely never ending. It's a extremely fascinating game, and I thought it might be fun to read a little bit about it. The second book I walked out with was, I kind of trawled through the science fiction section because I'm a little sci-fi liker. And I thought it'd be kind of fun to walk out with maybe something kind of light, you know? I like just a light little sci-fi story. And I quickly ran into a problem because a lot of the sci-fi section, there was a modern, you know, sci-fi section, but a lot of it was, let's say, classic, you know, stuff from the 90s and before. 90s at the latest. Let's cut that off. Like 1990, you know, there's stuff from the 80s, 70s, stuff like that. And when you're looking for something kind of light and fun, and then every single book is like, you look at the spine or you look at the cover and it's like, you think, oh, what's this about? You know, maybe some artwork catches your eye or the title is kind of evocative. And then you look at the spine or the cover and it's like book 3 of the 15th trilogy of the third Saturn's Rings cycle. And you're like, what happened to book 1? What happened to just writing one book and just like letting that be it? You know? Why does everything have to be 25 books long? Is there a reason for that? Actually, yeah, the reason is that historically genre fiction was harder to make money off of just because the audience was more niche. And so if you found success, you kind of milked the fuck out of it. Because a book a book is not very expensive to make from a like production standpoint. It's like one person and like an editor maybe and an agent. And then there's like some marketing people. But compared to like almost any other art form besides maybe music, depending on how indie it is, books are very cheap in terms of actual labor. So like it's just from a publisher's perspective, it's like, you have like your team that supports it, but for the writing of the actual production of the book, there's like one person you got to pay. So once that person finds success, they're like, "Fuck, I'm gonna milk this. I'm gonna make 1 billion of them." So that's why there's so many. They had a surprisingly paltry Asimov section. I thought, you know, I've never really read Isaac Asimov. I should read some Isaac Asimov. He's like one of the godfathers of modern science fiction. And I was looking through the selection of, you know, the A's and around where they put all the Asimov books, and same problem is like he had this extremely famous series, a very popular series called the Foundation series. And I could find like the final book and the prequel. I was like, what happened to book 1? What happened to that? So I ended up grabbing the Hugo Winners, Volume 5, 1980 to 1982, edited by Isaac Asimov. So the Hugo Awards are like the science fiction and fantasy, kind of like the genre fiction sort of awards for writing good stories. And they collected the top 3 winners from 3 years in a row into a big volume of like 9 stories. 9 like kind of novella length stories, maybe 60 to 70 pages each. So I figured that would be kind of like, it's not as much of an investment. If I don't like one of the stories, I can just move on. You know, again, kind of what I was looking for, something a little lighter. Also, 2 of the stories were written by George R.R. Martin of Game of Thrones fame. So that was, he won the 2nd and 3rd place. What a greedy little man in 1980. What a greedy guy. So last night I was like, yeah, let me start on that book. Let me just start with the very first story, called Enemy Mine by Barry B. Longyear. What a sci-fi name, Longyear. It's like a Star Wars name. So Enemy Mine, I was thinking, okay, it's like 70-ish pages. I'll just start it. You know, I might read 20 and then fall asleep. I read the whole thing in one go, and I almost cried And when I finished, I described it as life-changingly good. Enemy Mine was such a good story that I immediately started looking up other shit that Barry B. Longyear has written, because I was like, this blew my fucking socks off. It's not a particularly original concept, but it is maybe one of the best executions of that concept I have ever seen. And it is, because it is science fiction, there's a kind of timelessness to it that I think makes it still read very well today. Whereas, if it was done with, there's other versions. So the basic, it's a story about two people from warring races who end up on a planet together stranded, and they have to learn to survive with each other and learn each other's culture and accept each other. That's the basic idea. It's the idea has been done before. There's it's called Hell in the Pacific, which is about an American and a Japanese soldier being stranded and something on like an island, and similar idea. There's a couple other things like that. Two people from warring nations or factions have to survive together. But again, Enemy Mine is done with a human and an alien, and there's like this science fiction, because there's this speculative science fiction aspect to it, and it's disconnected from real world history. It still, feels very readable. It works really well from a modern perspective, and it becomes it works much better, I think, as an allegory, and you can see that you can apply the themes and the things that are going on to tons of real world stuff. I don't even want to go into specifics. It's just a really, really incredible, very moving and heartfelt take on that kind of story. Like his prose is extremely, I would say it ranges from functional to very beautiful in kind of an understated way. There is some really gorgeous, subtle irony in the story. I almost just want to talk. I could fucking talk about Enemy Mine for a while. And then I found out that there's a movie, and I found out and that he apparently hates. And I watched the Red Letter Media review of the Enemy Mine movie, and it was really funny to hear them talk about like the best parts of that. They're like, well, there's a lot of good stuff in it, but there's a lot of kind of stupid shit. And the point where they like all the good stuff that they're describing is more or less stuff from the book. Like the learning of the cultures and them sharing each other's languages, and the main character learning about just them forming like this connection, and then him raising the kid, and then all that, and then they're like, yeah, the movie kind of starts to completely fall apart right at, and then it's something that is not even close to being in the story. Not even close. And it's really funny in a sad way. Apparently there's a remake. I guess it's a remake, but it's also sort of just be a readaptation that's in the works. I think I would really like to see an adaptation of this that kind of does it justice, because it is very powerful, and there's some really, I think like a faithful interpretation of Longyear's writing and the way that he writes the two main characters. I think it would go a really long way. It's such a simple story, like so much of it just takes place in one location, but you get so much out of it. And I was like, it's got a great ending, it's got a great message, it's just really good. Go read Enemy Mine.